So just to get so just so we can get a feel for it. So who's quite new to NLP that doesn't really have a business yet, or maybe just have one or two clients? Fab, great. Lovely. Brilliant. And so who is, oh, now I'm going the other way, aren't I? Who's more, there we go. Who's more established but wants to grow? Our calendar's booked out, do we think? What's going on at the moment? Are we calendars totally booked? Do we need more clients still? Definitely still needing more clients. So we've got the experience, but we're still not getting enough clients. Brilliant. Just so I can gauge kind of where we're going. Because the thing for me is, like I said, most people start NLP normally for a few of these reasons. And that's to help others. Obviously we get in it to potentially just help others. Sometimes it's like I did, where it's to complement what I already do. So, you know, part of coaching, part of my online strategy is how can I add another skill set to what I do. And some of it's just to help yourself. We all know we go through transformations with NLP. But there's this other side of it which most of us avoid, and that's money, because we don't like to talk about money. I was having a lovely chat with, who's that gentleman in the middle, going, I don't like the energy of selling to do and help people. And that is a massive, massive common thing. It's like we want to help, we want to give, we want to do everything we can to solve the world. And we don't want to pay for it. We don't want to charge for it. We might even avoid money completely. So that's a common thing I see. And it's like, we're here to build businesses as well. And as I always say, you need to put your own oxygen mask on first. So if you don't have your own oxygen mask on right now, how can you possibly be in the energy space to help someone else? If you're sitting there having arguments before you come into work, when you're talking about how to pay bills, how to do whatever. So for me, there's an energy shift in relation to that. And I meet, especially women, every day who are incredible at what they do. They have the most amazing skill sets and they're broke and can't pay the rent. So for me, there's that balance, is making sure that we take the business edge as well with what we do, because if you can, then obviously you can impact more people and help more people. So I'm going to talk about money. Sorry guys, I know that we want to avoid it, but there's a bit coming up around money. So like I said, one of the big things I also see is when we go to networking, and we're out networking, we're out at events, and I'm an NLP therapist or I'm a coach. Great, what does that mean? What does that actually mean to anyone else? I was using a good example outside. One of my pet hates is the marketing agencies. You know, they all come in and they talk about their marketing agency. I'm a full service marketing agency. Has anyone ever heard that at a networking event? Yeah. What does that mean? Like, I still don't know what that means. I've asked them, I've got them to explain it to me, and I'm going, what on earth is a full service marketing agency? I'm like, what does it do for me? So most people don't understand sometimes how to stand up for the crowd. How do you differentiate yourself? And especially as more and more people train in NLP, it's getting bigger and bigger, everyone's coming through. How do you not compete on price? So the other thing is, how do you not go, oh, I've just rang you and you're 100 quid and you're 150. Oh, you might be 200. How do you compete if you're not competing on price? So how can you differentiate yourself again so you're different, so price really doesn't become the issue? Because it shouldn't become the issue with what you guys do, because you change people's lives, don't you? Yeah, so how do you stop with that? And then the other thing is, how can you stop the feast and famine cycle? So that's the big one I see a lot of people in, is like, I get a client, great, put all my energy into them. And then I'm like, okay, where's the next one coming from? Where do I get the next one from? How does that work? So we're going to talk about some of that. And I know Chris is going to... Is Chris here? Oh, that's Chris. Hello, Chris. Yay! Chris is going to go through some really good foundational stuff around building your business afterwards as well. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. So what I'm going to share with you today, some of the top line differences I've seen because of building businesses online. Because when you get online from offline, what happens is you have to get more specific. You have to get really darn good at sharing your message. And you have to get really clear on your positioning, because if you don't, you can't compete online. You get away with it offline, because quite often you get referrals, get people coming to you, you know, that sort of thing. You can have great conversations and you can sell. But again, you just get better skill sets from actually going online and competing. So I'm going to share some of those, but how you can take them into your businesses today. So, because as the guy said earlier, you're suddenly wearing all these hats. You're not just an NLPer, you're a marketer, you're a coach, you're an admin person, you're an event setup. Whatever you do in your business, you've suddenly got all these different hats on. So how do you juggle that and again make it simplistic that you can actually scale and grow your business? So this is what I hear all the time. I just want to help my clients. So we just want to help, really, don't we? That's all we want to do. But obviously it doesn't work like that because you're running a business. But the good thing is there's huge opportunities right now. You guys are in a prime space at the moment in relation to where the market's going. Because, now I couldn't find any, do you know you cannot find UK stats around NLP? But in the US, it is growing massively. So the statistics are huge in relation to complementary types of industries, you know, CBT, NLP, RTT, it's all growing and becoming the norm. So there's $1 billion industry out there. Hypnotherapy was one of the fastest growing out of that full report. So again, people are looking for these types of things. So the service industry itself is growing. Coaching, we know, grew massively, especially through 2019. Suddenly it's become the norm. Like, how many companies originally said no to having coaches or therapists in their businesses? And how many are embracing that now with the mental health issue we've got going on? Because the levels of mental health is crazy. It's 56% of workforce, UK workforce, are struggling with mental health issues. So there's a really big market out there for you guys. So how do we capture some of that marketplace? Because what I still see is many stuck, still trading their time. They're literally on this roller coaster of income and they're forever trying to chase clients and figure out how to get that next client. So how do we change that? Well, first, just a bit about me. For those that don't know me, that's me. I'm a traveller. I love to travel. I'm a business strategist, so I built my business to multi-six figures, going to 7 this year, hopefully, working on it. Over 15 years in corporate sales, so I've always been a bit of a sales girl. I did 15 years in real estate and recruitment for my sins. And I'm a launch specialist, so basically I take your ideas and concepts and go, okay, how do we take this content and how do we then package it and then how do we sell it so that we can scale? That's what I do on a regular basis. And of course I've travelled, you might pick up the accent, yes I'm Australian, yes I've been here way too long. I always kept saying I was going back, but I'm still here, working on a holiday in August. Yeah, so I've done 45 different countries so far, so travel's been my thing. And I'm really passionate about kind of helping the coach and service. I always say, if you can create more income first, you can create more impact, then you become an influence, then you really change the world. So, but it wasn't like that all the time. That was me. I was stuck in a little cubicle box for many, many years. And what I realised was I was just building someone else's business. So I'm sure many of you got out of corporate. I know there's a few that just got out of companies or on their way out, where you sit there going, what am I doing every day? I'm just building someone else's business. So I was stuck. I hated it. I was under the pressure, literally burnt out from being corporate for so long that I had every target. I just couldn't do it anymore. And it was my boss that walked in one day and said, I've got a travel card. He was bragging about his travel card. I'm like, oh my God, you're in retirement, you're bragging about your travel card and you're still here. I don't want to be you in 10 years' time. And that was kind of when I shook up what I was doing. But when I left, what I did was just create another home office for myself. Yay! Stuck in my home office again. I was still trading my time for money completely. I had massive self-doubt. I don't know, has anyone here gone from the corporate space where you're a high flyer to starting your own businesses? Anyone shared the same experience with me? Then I melted and I was like, who am I? Who am I to do this? Why me? I'm not an expert. All those sorts of things that come up when you leave corporate because you are doing a really good job there and then suddenly no one's telling you that. And you're like, now you've got to get to the depth of yourself. That's when I started things like NLP and RTT. I'm like, all these blocks come up. So I wasn't charging what I was worth either. I was very much underselling my services. One of my first clients I ever worked with went on from doing 0 to 500K in less than 2 years working with me. And I charged her $2,000 at the time. Imagine if I just took a percentage of that sales now. And I've learnt to do that now in my business model. I take percentages of some of my businesses But again, I just didn't value what I was doing. I couldn't really see the value in what I was doing. And then lockdown hit. I added another 100K to my business in less than 6 months. And that's because I redid my services. I realised the value I had. It helped that people were in lockdown, and suddenly those courses they wanted to create, those programs they put on the side, suddenly become front. But I literally then went on to double my business, and I've grown since. And it all started with this little purple cow. And I was just saying to Jules, I've got a colour problem because my colour on here is really beautiful and purple in the background. It doesn't show on here at all. So I have to remember that. My brand colours do not work on a presentation stage. But we're going to talk about the purple cow, what the purple cow does. And he can change your life, that little purple cow. And there's a reason for it. But before we get into that, you're not going to sit there and do nothing. No, I said I was going to make this more workshop style because of the level of people we had. So the first thing I want you to do is grab a piece of paper, and I want you to jot down, do you want a piece of paper, you want a notepad? Come on. Who's the one that's not organised? I don't know. There's one in every crowd. Simon's such a troublemaker. You're normally highly organised. So there's 2 numbers I want you to write down first, and that is write down the number, what's your target for this year? What's your income target in your business for this year? You don't have to share it, just don't have to share it with anyone. Just want you to write down what's your target for this year. And then ideally underneath that, write what's your target for 3 years' time.
Are we talking turnover?
Yeah, just turnover for now. Make it simple. So once you've got those, and guess if you don't know, if you haven't planned for your 3 year, oh, I love it. So there's some planning to go on, isn't there? So it's like, have we even thought about a number? Do we know what we want to hit this year? It's really interesting. So then what I want you to do is write down your average price for the service that you charge at the moment.
See some maths coming.
Yeah, sorry, we might need a calculator. Yeah, it might need a calculator for this one.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
Kylie, sorry.
Yes.
Would you do that monthly or would you do that annually? Like,
Oh, what, planning session?
If you've got retained clients, how would you?
Yeah, ideally, I mean, all I'm trying to do is just get an average. I just want to know roughly what it costs you to have a client. Like, what's your one client? How many clients do you need to hit your target?
Okay.
That's what we're doing basically, just a rough. I just want people to start to throw some numbers at me. So then what I want you to do is obviously divide your target by your average client and just see what numbers come out. I want to see just roughly how many clients do you need to hit your first target? Anyone want to share?
5.
What?
5.
5 to hit your whole annual target. We need to up your target, dude. You only need 5 clients. Brilliant, love
40.
it. 40, that's good numbers too, love it. Who else has got some numbers? You guys might not need me, I might just go home. Come on, anyone else gonna? 30? You're doing really well too. That's it, I might just go. That's it, Paul, they're all sorted, they don't need me now. Yep, done. Done? Well, that means you guys are charging quite well, because what normally happens is most clients are really struggling with education in relation to, they get taught to come out from their coaching or their therapy, and they start on session by session basis. So you might do 5 sessions, you might do 6 sessions, but most people are charging a session by session basis. And that normally, on average, is between 50 and 200 a session. So either we don't have big goals in here, or we're charging really well, which is brilliant. So I'm hoping one or the other, but either way you'll get some value out of this. But basically that's what most people do when they come out of coaching, is they come out and they get taught to go session by session in coaching. And what happens is you generally end up needing 20 clients a week to hit a 6-figure income. So either we're not going high enough and we're not aiming high enough potentially for an income level, or most of the time you're looking at about 20 clients a week at 120 quid, which generally sits you around a 6-figure salary. But that works out to 1,040 clients a year. Or if you do it by 6 sessions, it still works out to over 300 clients a year. So you guys must be doing all right if you're down to 40 or 50. But generally that's kind of what happens, because it's a good figure. Normally it's part-time, but actually that's really good to get to. But what happens is most people are working at full capacity. They don't have any more time in their diary and they're chockers, or they're exhausted, one or the other. Or their income's capped. So if you do want to do more than that, or you do want to do more than your income, what generally happens is your income is capped, because it's capped by the amount of hours that you're working, and how many sessions you can fit in a day. This gets into that kind of scenario where I was talking about the go from the cheapest in the field. You know, how do you compare? How do you differentiate between what you're actually talking about? So how do you stand out so you're a bit different? And how do you hit 1,040 clients? I know I can't do that. I don't need to do that. But a lot of people need somewhere between 300 to 500 clients to hit their income goals. So how do you change that so you can make it easier for yourself so you don't have to? And I'm going to share some of that today, because basically I'm hoping, ideally what I want to do is move away from this traditional coaching style to go, we don't have to charge session by session. We don't have to literally go low value, we can go high value, but also we can position ourselves in a different way to sell. Does that sound good? We on path? Yeah, we're still engaged with that. Even though we only need 10, 20 clients. I find that really good. If that's okay, so we're going to share some tips with you. So how do you do it? So the first step, I want to share with you 3 kind of ways to really differentiate yourself in the marketplace. How can you stand out? So the first one is you need to become the heart surgeon. So if you're not a specialist anymore, you're generally struggling. Most people are struggling in relation to if they're not becoming that expert. I hate the word expert because most people don't like it in this room. We don't like to be called experts. We hate the word guru. But I always say you've got to differentiate yourself. So why does a general doctor is exhausted, overworked, underpaid, compared to a heart surgeon who's in demand, works with a particular amount of clients? And you want to become the heart surgeon of your business so that people know that you're that go-to person that's the expert. So I was saying the other day, someone came to me, they were talking about their coaching business and like, oh, well, I kind of help them grow their business and I help with their relationship too. And I went, no, you don't. No one wants to come to you to solve both problems. People want to come to you because they want to solve their relationship problem. If they've got a relationship problem, they don't want to go to a business coach. So again, are you becoming the heart surgeon of your business? Do people know why you're the expert or why you're the person that you should be there? And I always joke about selling the holiday, not the plane. Because again, most of the time when I hear people with NLP, coaching, therapy, anything, they're always selling their tactics. They're always selling their methods. And I was talking to a great guy who's got a brilliant methodology, and I went, great, what's it going to do for me? Because people don't buy what you do. We think they do, and we think we have to have all these certifications and all these backbone, but they don't buy that. What they buy is the end result it gives them. So what's your end result? What do you give your clients? What's your holiday for your clients? So when you're thinking about it, do you really care how the plane works when you go on holidays? No. As long as it gets you there safely. You know, of course you want the safety. You still want to understand it, but that's not what you're buying. You're buying the peace and the quiet with the kids or the time with the family. So are you selling the time with your family in your business, or are you selling the plane? So when you introduce yourself, how do you introduce yourself? I'm an NLP therapist. I'm a coach. What do you do? How do you differentiate yourself? So when you start thinking about, are you selling it? And ideally, if you really want to grow your business, you need to link it to one of these 3. Because the most basic paid for services is health, wealth, or relationships. And people want to go to the expert in one or the other. And this is the biggest thing that I find most therapists really struggle to get their head around. Because they're like, but I help everyone. Or I can solve all these problems. Because if you remove limiting belief, generally what happens? Your wealth might go up, relationship might get better. But again, when you're positioning yourself in the marketplace and you want to sell and you want to work with less clients, ideally you want to specialise first. The outcomes might change. So the outcomes might be different. Like I might come to you to work on my business, but my relationship might improve. My health might get better. And that's okay, but I've come to you for the reason that I want the problem solved in the first place. So do you have a very, very clear problem that you solved? So I'll just give you an example. This girl, Lara, I was working with, she's an RTT therapist. An RTT therapist is very similar to NLP now. It's really growing. people are getting to know it more. If you haven't heard of it, it's called rapid transformational therapy. I always call it hypnotherapy on speed. It's the way I describe it to people. But again, you know, she was charging the regular 150 quid a session. And I was like, what do you do? She goes, I transform these women's lives. Right, why? How? And we got to the bottom of it, and she's really good at taking a 50-year-old outside their comfort zone. So someone that's really stuck and not sure where they're going. And now she's selling a package that's at 5,700. So she only needs 18 clients now to hit her whole target. So she went from 666 clients to 18 clients. And all she's done is position herself in a different way. She's still doing deep RTT therapy work with them. So you don't lose that one-on-one scenario, but she's packaged herself up in a way that sells to her clients not only about the RTT, but also about the support, the community, the thing that they want afterwards. They don't just want the RTT. And now she's sold that. She's got 6 first clients already, and she's literally only just started about a month ago. So again, there's different ways you can actually package yourself up to literally cut down the hours that you're working. And she doesn't have to deliver that hours and hours and hours a week. So her diary is actually fairly empty. So hopefully it gives you an idea on the first part is around understanding the problem you solve. Are you positioning your problem to the marketplace? Are you selling your plane and not the holiday? Am I getting some nods? Got no idea, not really. Yeah? We are? Can't wait, I'm going to hear the pictures at the end of it. Right, the second part is then we need to start to create what we call a methodology. I know some of you already got some methodology. I was talking to a great guy the other day, we're going to write his book. Because when you have a methodology, what do you have? You can have a book, you can have a workshop, you can have a private coaching, you can have a course, you can run one of these events with a methodology. And a methodology is simply how you take your clients from A to B. So how do they get across the bridge with you? The biggest objection I hear to this normally is, but every one of my clients is unique and different. Yeah, who immediately thought that, yeah? And they are, but you still take them through a process. Their outcome may be very different every time they work with you. The outcome may be very different every step that they do. But I can guarantee if you sit down and look at what you do, you have a process you work them through. Now, you might still do different therapy with them. You might still do different methodologies with them. But if you have a methodology, again, people want expertise. You want to be able to stand up and display your expertise. So when you're presenting, when you're trying to win clients, when you're maybe doing a webinar, if you've got a methodology and a process, people will understand how you can get them to where they want to go, even if it changes for them. And we're going to share some examples. So mine is really simply, I show you how to plan. Planning is first. Show you how to package up your services so you can package them up in whichever way you want to do. And that's unique. So I don't package everyone in the same way. Sometimes I work with people that want to create an online program. Sometimes I work with someone that wants to create, I'm working with a leadership coach at the moment. She's creating retreats, but she's still got a methodology, yeah? Because we're going to take them through a 3-step process during these retreats. So they come out the other side much stronger leaders. Then you need to know how to promote it. How do you go out there and promote it to the marketplace? How do you position yourself as the expert? So we were just talking, it's Rob, isn't it? Yeah, so we were just talking about Rob. Books work brilliantly. Like you can turn your methodology into a book. A book opens doors for you very, very easily when you want to speak on stage. It gets you noticed on podcasts. It gets you out to the marketplace. You can give it away for free, build your profile. So you can take that knowledge and turn it very, very quickly into a business book. And then you want to make profit, because a profit then is delivering it, making sure you get awesome testimonials and results, and then ideally you want to systemize your sales. So you want to create a process that brings clients back to you on a regular basis. So that's mine. Now I do that in group format, I do that one-on-one, and I do it in a high ticket. But I take everyone through the same process that works with me, and I can do that in a day. So when I work on a VIP day, I quite often will package people up in a VIP day in one day, but I still go through the process. Do they know what problem they solve? Do they know which marketplace? How are we going to package them up? So I have a process to take them through. Their outcome may be different every time. So my question is, do you have a methodology? And you may not think you have one, but you do. because this is a really good example of one. Who's that? He's at the back of the room, isn't he? So Paul originally...
Leave that slide on for a bit longer.
But Paul originally, when I started talking to Paul was like, I don't have a methodology. I don't really have my own process. I know what I'm good at doing. You know what you're good at doing, don't you, Paul? You're brilliant at what you do. You didn't really have a methodology. You didn't have a process to present. Now you're presenting, aren't you, Paul?
Yes.
And using it in presentations. Now the good thing is Paul's got a methodology of 3 steps. So it's clarification, because you need to get clear on where they're at. That's all this digging, diving deep, you know, remember that in NLP. Authentication. How do you understand where they're at? What do they need to change? What do they need to shift? And creation. How do you get out there and make it happen? That's in summary. Paul will do it much better than I will. But again, he never thought he had a methodology. Now that stands Paul out from the crowd. He's got his own method. He's got his own process. Do you think he might be able to charge a bit more for that? Clients are going to pay more. Going to be positioned as the expert, yeah? I can take you through and unlock your full potential. Brilliant, really clear. So Paul didn't think he had a methodology, but he's got one now, haven't you, Paul? And it's developing, and it'll develop as he works with people in that methodology. Because again, once you start working with people in your process, you'll start to tweak and change it. Mine changed 3 times when I first got started. Now I've got it down, I've done it for 3 years. But again, it leads you to, so Paul could turn that into a book now. Are you, Paul? You know, again, it's an open business book, because now he's got his own methodology. He can put that in, talk about it, sell the process. So you share the why and the how in the book. You don't go into the how and the implementation. They'll come to work with him for that. But again, the book will open doors. He'll get on stages, much more stages, podcast shows. So when you want to get clients, what do you want to do? Get visible. That's a really good way to get visible, guys. It's to think about what's your methodology, what's your process. And it's kind of a bit of a new hybrid process, because often it combines the kind of coaching therapy, but generally with things like accountability. It might be support, it could be education. So some people create hybrid coaching. They like to teach. So I've got a bone density specialist I'm working with in the US. Wouldn't think you could do that on a hybrid program, but you can. So she's now created her first course. What she does is she teaches the concept of what she does around bone density. Then she does video demonstrations. And so basically, I describe it as a bit of a yoga on speed, because it's specialised yoga for osteo. So again, she's very niche, very specific. She only works with people that are facing osteo and fractures. In literally 3 weeks, she's gone from 0. She is now 800 people in her community. She has 2,500 people on her list, and she's signed up 24 clients. And she got very specific. And that's the biggest fear most people have when they come in and talk to me. Their biggest fear is I can't get specific. But when you do, what happens? People go, oh my God, that person's for me. And that brings us slightly, one more. So yeah, I'm a bit like this. So you can either build your business the top way above the line, which means you need 2,000 or 1,000 clients, or you can start to get into some of these figures where you can just go, do you know what, I only want 10 clients and I'm happy. Because guess what, when I have 10 clients, I can do much more deep transformation. So it's just a different thought process around how you think about your packaging. And with increased income, without increasing number of clients, most people come to me thinking they need more clients, but most of the time they don't. Most of the time they need to package themselves in a different way that makes them stand out from the crowd. But also you get clients, you get much stronger transformations with your clients, because you can work deeper with them. You know, how many times you walked out wishing you could just handhold them through a bit of a process, but you get paid for it instead. And they appreciate it. And so part 3, we go back to our little purple cow. Because your purple cow is the one that creates your success. So has anyone read The Purple Cow? I didn't just make him up. It's called Daisy. You've read it, haven't you? Seth Godin, The Purple Cow. Exactly. It's one of my favourite little books. It's the shortest book ever, but it's the most impactful book. Because your purple cow isn't about being different or unique or standing out from the crowd. It's this. It's the Chinese whispers. It's what people say about you. It's, am I sitting there? Is Amy sitting there talking about a problem she's got? And you can go, you're going to solve it for her. Can people really clearly hear the problem someone else has and point to you as the solution provider? with what you do. Because if they can't, that's when you're going to get stuck. Because it's the Chinese whispers that make the impact, same as the purple cow. It wasn't about the purple cow sitting on the side of the road being different. It was the fact that people picked up the phone and told everyone about the purple cow. So we were talking about going viral before. How is your purple cow? What is it? How are people going to go and shout about you? And that doesn't just incorporate being different or unique. It incorporates the experience they have with you. It's the added bonus in relation to working with you. That's your purple cow. So are you creating your own Chinese whisper? So Kaz came to me. She's a client, struggling. She had no clients for 4 months. Gravity technique. Anyone know what that is? No idea. Exactly, no idea. So when she was introducing herself, she's like, I'm Kaz, I'm with the gravity technique. Great. What the hell's the gravity technique? No one knows what you do. Yeah. I sat down and worked with her for a day. We come out the other end. Guess what she does? Solves chronic pain in knees and hips specifically. That's what she does. She can turn your life around in a session. Gravity technique, no idea what that is. But as soon as I found out she had chronic pain, what happened? 3 clients in 3 weeks. Because other people could refer her. So we get stuck in our own jargon, we get stuck in our own language, but it wasn't about that. As soon as people got clear on what she did, we did this introduction at my mastermind. She stood up and said, I solve chronic pain in knees and hips. 3 people said, I know someone like that. That's your purple cow. Because if it's too complicated for someone else to understand what you do, they can't refer you. And I know we're going into, and I'm an internet marketer, so normally I'm like, oh, scale online and create systems. But actually, sometimes it's just this, get clear on this. Because as soon as you get clear on it, someone else can sell you in. You don't even need to sell yourself. But also you do it, makes you confident. So she said to me the other day, she said, oh, I don't think my marketing's changed that much. I went, it hasn't, but guess what has? Her confidence, her message, the way she speaks has changed massively. And it's just because she understands her purple cow. She now gets what she does. So, she's talking to a rugby guy at the moment. Imagine him, he's probably broken, yeah? So again, and she's done that. She's really solved one rugby guy's situation. He was due to have an operation within 6 months. She got him out of complete pain, never had an operation since in 3 years. But she was broke because she doesn't know how to sell herself. So if you haven't created your purple cow, I want you to think about it. What's your purple cow line? Maybe share. Let's have a discussion. Let's do something. Talk to the person next to you. Yes, I hate it. I know I'm going to make you do it. What's your purple cow? How do you describe yourself in 30 seconds that someone else can get what you do? Go on. NLPers love doing activities. I'm doing on timing.
There's a lot of pressure.
It's become pretty close. What company want you in there? You can drop their retention rates. Brilliant. Really clear, really clear. So someone listening to that, you just heard that, didn't you? If someone's sitting there in a company going, oh my God, I'm losing staff every minute of the day, how do I retain them? You can easily go and see the map. Really simple, really clear. Love it. Who else? Who else heard a great purple cow? I see confusion. Go on.
Paul's pretty good.
Go on.
Quite simple.
Paul's been practicing, I know though. Come on, Paul.
People get out their own way.
Yeah, help him get. So what do they want when they get out of their own way though? What's your focus?
Gaining confidence.
Clarity. Why do they want clarity?
See where they're going.
Why do they need to see where they're going?
I continued it to say, when people get to that point, they say to themselves, "Is this it?"
Yep.
I provide the answer.
So why do they want to get out of this is it? What do they want?
They want more.
More of what?
Success.
Yeah.
They want to achieve the best life that they can.
Yep.
They want to. So you're going to put me under this one.
I know. I know I can get away with it. I know I can get away with it, but it's keep asking that question of why. Because most of us get into what we do. So what Paul described was beautiful, but again, we're getting into the why, what we do. What do they want? What's the end result? What's their plan? Because the first bit was brilliant, but but it's then why. What do they want that for? So I want to get out of my way because, like, what's the thing? What's their plan? I want to go on holiday. Why? I want to go on holiday because I want to hang out with my hubby and just do nothing.
Would you say for a lot of people that's an away from, that actually it's about getting out of pain as opposed to achieving?
Now it could be one or the other, because for example, like obviously Kaz is getting out of pain. So they want to be pain free, but actually their main focus is getting out of pain. So you can have an away and a towards type of goal, depending what their biggest push is. So we were talking about this the other day when we were presenting, weren't we? When you start a presentation, what do they want the most? Do they have a challenge they want to get away from, or are they driving towards something? So most of my clients are driving towards a bigger goal. They're not normally getting away from pain. I don't have any clients at all. Most of my big clients I work with have already got a good business. They want to scale, so they're going towards something. Makes sense? So ideally, you want your purple cow to speak to your right marketplace. Does that make sense? So how would you end what Bev said? Put it together. So I help people get out of their own way. So
That was Paul's,
Yeah. So
what's their big thing they want?
a fulfilled life.
Brilliant, fulfilled life. So if someone's sitting there at a networking event next to you going, oh my God, I feel so crap. Life's just boring. I'm really feeling unfulfilled right now. Who do you send them to?
To live the life you choose.
Brilliant, love that. You can have that. I'll allow you to have an extra couple of words. But again, it's the clarity. It's the clarity of how simple that is for someone else to hear the pain. And whether that's online or offline, whether you're in a networking event or whether you're selling something online, they need to be able to understand what you do that clearly. Because if you can't, then they can't, this business won't grow. And like I said, with most people only want 10, 20 clients a year. You want people to be able to go, oh my God, go and speak to that person. But it's how clear is that? And the hardest bit, I know what Paul's struggling with there, is Paul like, well, they could grow their business. They could have a better relationship. They could have better health. Because what do you want when you want a better life? Yeah? And again, he's not owning one thing. Just food for thought.
But it's only the hook, isn't it? It's only the hook. So it just has to be very succinct to get them in.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and it's succinct to get them in, but also to understand then the level that you're only speaking to that person in your marketing. Because what goes wrong with most clients, with people that are chasing clients?
They talk to everyone.
Yep. And it's because they haven't got this bit right first. So they're going out marketing, doing all the hard work. How many people are posting on social media and getting no response? Yeah? How many people are running the things and getting no response? Or they're not closing sales on it. And generally it's because they haven't understood their purple cow. They haven't understood their message first. And that means when their marketing goes out, it becomes weak. Because it just tries to speak to everyone, doesn't speak to anyone. Whereas when you see something specific and you're just like, oh, that's me, then you get it. So as soon as Kaz has started to shift her message to chronic pain, she's already had inquiries off social media. She hadn't had any for 6 months. Because again, it speaks to their, and you listen to their language as well, not your own language. So the other thing is watch your jargon. Because I used to do that badly. I like sales funnels, like what are they? You know, order online courses. Most people don't want online courses. What do they want? They want more income, they want more freedom. So again, it's getting out of that language. And we have to watch our jargon in the industry, but also speak the language of your client. So with Matt's got to speak a corporate if he wants to get in corporate. Corporate don't care about how you feel. Well, they do now, they're getting there.
I get what you're saying.
Yes.
But for me personally, where I'm not just one thing.
Brilliant.
So business coaching, yeah, is something that I'm passionate about.
Yep.
But just as much as personal coaching, my only worry is let's say you're looking at my post and you're not interested in business coaching, but actually you might be interested in what I do on another side.
Yep.
How do I get that across?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to miss the potential of missing. I get it if I was just purely one. That's my only worry.
Now my idea with that, what I try and do is I try and pick a platform and work one platform and the other.
This is what I was
While
going
you're
to say.
building,
Like my LinkedIn will be my business side of things, and
Yeah.
but that's my only worry.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really strange, and I get exactly what you mean, and I completely grasp it. But
So there's two things you can do, because this is why, again, I always recommend don't build two businesses at once, guys. Work with one market and grow that first until you're really successful, because then guess what, you can do it again. But that's why I target one market ideally, because again, especially while you're growing, because what you want is case study after case study after case study. You want results after results after results. So ideally, if I was you and I was starting, I'd choose one or the other to start with. Build it first till you build a reputation. Then as you grow, go into the other side of it. Now that doesn't mean, guys, by the way, when you do this, it doesn't mean you'll never work with other clients. I get random clients come to me all the time. I choose whether I work with them or not. But do you know what I mean? They don't all want to create an online program. But some of them just want me to help them scale their group, or launch a high ticket coaching program. I work with different clients. It doesn't mean you won't work with different clients. What it means is your message is really clear, so you can attract the right clients. So if you just said, Matt, I just want 15 corporate clients to start with, that doesn't mean you won't work with anyone else. They'll see what you do. They will understand the problem you can solve for them. And someone that's a high flyer or someone that's personal will probably approach out to you anyway. All it means is your marketing message gets really clear. Your funnels can get really clear. Your process from taking someone cold into your business and turning them into a client fast is really clear then. Make sense? Because all your message is really clear. Now that doesn't mean you can't have two channels. You could have one thing that talks to corporate and bring corporate into your world really fast, but another thing you might do for personal development. You might write your book around personal development. You could use a different way to funnel them into your business. Okay. Make sense? Okay. But if you're not clear on it, you can't get it out. And it's like building two brands really hard. Like I'm struggling a bit with that at the moment, because some of you know I launched Iconic Wealth for Women. That's my pet project, it's my baby on the side. And of course, what I have to be careful of is my core message doesn't get lost on social media. And we discussed this the other day, didn't we, at an event. We were masterminding. He's like, well, does that mean you only work with women now? That's like, oh, shit. So I get it thrown back at me too, guys. I'm not throwing this at you for the sake of it. I get it thrown back, and I got it thrown back on Friday. And it's like, oh, does that mean you only work with women? It's like, well, no, actually some of my best clients are men. Yeah, but because I'm focused on Iconic Wealth at the moment, so everything that's going out is around women and changing their wealth, everyone automatically thought that I only work with women. So very hard to build two brands at once when you're growing. When you've got an establishment and you've got a client base and you have clients coming in from other ways, very easy to add something to what you do. Does that help?
Yes.
Right, we're pretty well done now. Because all I want you to do is hopefully stop trading some of your time for money, because otherwise you're never going to scale, you're just going to get in a burnout and your diaries are going to be full. So ideally, if you package yourself up, you can also scale in a different way. Become, like I said, the expert, not the specialist. The expert and the specialist, whatever you want to call it. Get known for being that thing that people can talk about. Ideally, package up your services at some stage. Start to think about it. How can you grow? How can you scale? Because you can do things like workshops, books, everything can be off of a methodology. Get known for something. It can increase your rates. Look at Tony Robbins. He started with just phobias, but he got known. He was a specialist at that. That's what he did. Then he started to package his services. What are some of his biggest events now? Yeah, and what does he do? Repeat them. They just get better every year. Or some people say they get worse, but now you've got 30,000 in a room instead of 300. But again, just making sure that, again, it gives you the leverage that if you want to grow, you want to grow. Increase your rate, stand out from the crowd, and like I said, less clients, more income. That's what I'm always about. That's it. Oh, beautiful. So if anyone obviously wants to contact me, just book a call. You can either book a Clash by Clarity call, I like to call it, or just connect and reach out. I'm pretty accessible. Any other questions? Anything else? We're good?
All good, and please feel free